He wasn't a suspect. He wasn't even old enough to vote. He was just a kid, carrying homework in his backpack. But that night, the world didn't see Jamal Hayes as a student. They saw him as a threat. The flash of sirens shattered the silence. Tires screamed. And before Jamal could even understand why, cold hands were shoving him against a car. Hands where we can see them. His books hit the ground, pages scattering like his dignity. He whispered, trembling, "I didn't do anything." But innocence didn't matter here, because what happened next would ignite a fire that reached far beyond this street corner. Because Jamal wasn't just another teenager in handcuffs. He was the son of Marcus Hayes, one of the FBI's most relentless agents. And by mocking Jamal, those officers weren't just making an arrest. They were starting a war. The station buzzed with laughter when Jamal was dragged in. Officers made jokes, calling him gangster, troublemaker, and worse. Jamal sat silently in a holding cell, fighting tears, replaying his father's advice, "Don't give them your anger. Your silence is stronger than their hate." But silence doesn't erase pain. It magnifies it. Then, the door slammed open. The laughter stopped. Agent Marcus Hayes walked in, tall, calm, but with a fire in his eyes that made the room shrink. His FBI badge glinted under the harsh lights. "I'm here for my son," he said, voice steady, commanding. Whispers spread like wildfire. Officers stiffened. The same men who mocked Jamal now shifted uneasily. Marcus walked straight to the cell. Jamal looked up, his eyes wet. "Dad." Marcus's face softened for a moment. "You okay, son?" Jamal nodded, though the weight of humiliation still pressed on his shoulders. Marcus turned back to the officers. His tone sharpened. "You arrested my son without cause. You cuffed him, mocked him, treated him like a criminal when the only crime here is your abuse of power." Silence. The officers stammered excuses, but Marcus cut them down with a single line. "You don't know who you're dealing with." The dramatic irony was brutal. Their arrogance, their cruelty, it had all been recorded. The same cameras they laughed at would become the evidence that burned them. But Marcus wasn't satisfied with exposing two officers. He wanted to know how deep the rot went. And as he dug, he uncovered something terrifying. The video of Jamal's arrest hit social media like wildfire. Millions watched as a black teenager was mocked in cuffs. Anger exploded online. Protests gathered outside the precinct. For most, it was just another example of racial profiling. But for Marcus, it was personal and professional. He pulled files, body cam footage, complaint reports. What he found was chilling. Dozens of false arrests, patterns of targeting young black men, officers with long misconduct histories, protected by silence. The same men who mocked Jamal weren't just bad apples. They were part of a system designed to humiliate and control. Marcus sat Jamal down one night. The boy's hands still shook from the memory of the cuffs. "Son," Marcus said softly, "this isn't just about you. It's about every kid who doesn't have someone in power to fight for them." Jamal swallowed hard. "So what do we do?" Marcus placed a firm hand on his shoulder. "We fight. And this time, the fight is bigger than us." The courtroom was packed weeks later. Reporters, protesters, lawyers. The officers sat in chains, no longer laughing. Their smirks had vanished, replaced with fear. The judge read the charges: false arrest, misconduct, abuse of power. Then the video played, the same video they had brushed off as nothing. The nation watched Jamal's quiet strength as he endured their mockery. When the verdict came, the room gasped. Guilty. For the first time, Jamal felt the weight lift. Justice had spoken. The same hands that mocked him were now cuffed themselves. And the lesson was clear. Never underestimate the person you're humiliating. Because the powerless can rise, and when they do, justice follows. That night, as Marcus and Jamal returned home, the world finally seemed a little lighter. The laughter of corrupt officers had been replaced by the voice of justice. But just as Marcus reached for his keys, he noticed something chilling. An envelope sat on the front step. Inside were photographs of Jamal walking home from school, Jamal at basketball practice, Jamal asleep in his bed, and a note written in bold black ink. The officers you caught were pawns. The real game has just begun. Marcus froze. His heart pounded. The fight wasn't over. It was only beginning. The night had been quiet, too quiet. Jamal had just begun to breathe again after weeks of reliving that arrest. But when Marcus opened the envelope left on their doorstep, his heart froze. Photographs of his son. Jamal walking, laughing, even sleeping. A chilling note. The officers you caught were pawns. The real game has just begun. Marcus's hands tightened around the letter. This wasn't just intimidation. It was a declaration of war. Jamal saw the fear in his father's eyes for the first time. "Dad, what does this mean?" Marcus whispered back, almost to himself. "It means we're not just fighting bad cops. We're fighting something much bigger." Marcus pulled every string he could within the FBI. Background checks, surveillance tapes, internal memos. What he found wasn't random. The two officers who mocked Jamal were tied to a secret group, an informal brotherhood inside the department. A network that exchanged favors, covered up crimes, and silenced anyone who resisted. And the most dangerous part? They had allies higher up. Judges, prosecutors, even politicians. Marcus's investigation was dangerous. Every phone call felt like it was being tapped. Every step outside, he noticed the same black SUV parked across the street. One night, Jamal confronted him. "Dad, you're scaring me. What if they come for us?" Marcus looked his son in the eye. "Son, they already came for us. The question is, are we going to let them win?" Jamal swallowed hard, but he nodded. He wasn't just a scared teenager anymore. He was part of this fight. Marcus decided to hit back. He leaked evidence anonymously to a journalist, a woman known for exposing corruption. Within days, headlines exploded. Secret police network exposed. Are America's courts compromised? The city buzzed with fury. Protests doubled in size. Politicians scrambled for cover. But with every headline, the threats grew louder. Anonymous calls in the night. Strange men watching from across the street. Jamal's school locker broken into. One evening, as Marcus drove home, a truck swerved behind him, its headlights blinding. It rammed his car once, twice, before peeling off into the darkness. This wasn't just intimidation anymore. It was an attempt to silence him. But Marcus wasn't backing down. Not now. Not ever. He looked at Jamal and said firmly, "They think fear will stop us. But fear only makes us stronger. We fight for every kid who doesn't have a father in the FBI. We fight for the ones who can't fight back." The power had shifted. What began as humiliation was now a battle for the soul of justice itself. The system Marcus trusted his whole life was cracking wide open. For Jamal, every step was dangerous, but it was also empowering. He wasn't just the boy in handcuffs anymore. He was the face of a movement. But just as Marcus prepared the next round of evidence for federal court, his phone buzzed with a text. A single picture filled the screen. Jamal, standing outside his school, taken only minutes ago. And beneath it, a message. "If you keep going, your son won't make it home." Marcus's blood ran cold. The enemy had just made their move. The text message replayed in Marcus's mind like a nightmare. A picture of Jamal outside his school. And beneath it, "If you keep going, your son won't make it home." For the first time in his career, Marcus felt powerless. He had faced drug lords, arms dealers, and organized crime syndicates. But nothing terrified him more than the thought of losing his son. He raced to Jamal's school. The bell had just rung, kids flooding out in laughter. But Jamal wasn't there. His backpack was found on the ground. His phone, smashed near the curb. That's the reality Marcus Hayes now faced. He had spent his career chasing criminals in the shadows, but this time, the shadows stretched into City Hall itself. The file slipped under his door didn't just contain evidence of corruption. It held a blueprint of a conspiracy that went all the way up to the mayor's office. And now, with Jamal kidnapped again, Marcus knew the clock was ticking. Marcus scanned through the documents with trembling hands. Bank transfers linked to shell companies, signed contracts with fake consulting firms, and photos of cops meeting secretly with politicians. At the center of it all, Mayor Richard Calloway, a man who had built his career on law and order. The same man who publicly condemned crime while privately feeding it. But exposing a mayor wasn't the same as exposing a dirty cop. Marcus knew this wasn't just about evidence. This was about power. He needed allies. That night, Marcus met quietly with Judge Evelyn Carter, the same woman who had once defended his family during Jamal's first arrest. Her face hardened as she studied the evidence. Marcus, if this is true, the mayor won't go down quietly. He controls the police. He controls the courts. You'll need more than files. You'll need public outrage. Marcus nodded. Then we'll give the people the truth. Together, they devised a plan. A leak to the press. A public statement. Enough noise to make it impossible for the mayor to bury the truth. But as Marcus prepared, the threats intensified. His car brakes cut. His house broken into again. Only this time, the intruders left a single bullet on his dining table. A message: stay silent or lose everything. The next morning, Marcus made his move. He walked straight into a press conference where the mayor was delivering a speech about safety in the community. The cameras rolled. The crowd applauded. And then, Marcus stepped forward, holding the manila folder high, his voice steady but filled with fire. Safety? You dare speak of safety while hiding behind corruption? I have proof. Proof that Mayor Calloway has been using this city as his personal empire of power and fear. The crowd gasped. Reporters swarmed. The mayor's confident smile faltered. His hands gripped the podium tighter. Agent Hayes is lying, he barked. This is slander, fabricated by criminals to destroy me. But Marcus wasn't finished. He revealed the photographs, the bank transfers, the signatures, all on live television. And then, Judge Carter stepped into frame, her robe and gavel in hand. This is no fabrication. I have reviewed the evidence myself. And as of today, Mayor Calloway is under federal investigation. The press erupted. The crowd roared. For the first time, the power dynamic shifted. The mayor wasn't untouchable anymore. But power doesn't crumble quietly. That night, Marcus received one more message. A video feed. Jamal, tied to a chair in a dark room. His face bruised, his eyes filled with fear. A voice whispered through the speakers. You think you can expose us? You think the mayor is the top? You've only scratched the surface. Step back, or watch your son disappear forever. Marcus's chest tightened. The battle wasn't just against a corrupt mayor anymore. It was against something far bigger, something darker. And now, it had Jamal in its grip. What if I told you, the people you see in power aren't the ones truly in control? That's what Marcus Hayes was about to discover. He thought exposing the mayor was the endgame. He thought corruption stopped at City Hall. But as Jamal sat bound and bruised in a darkened room, Marcus would learn the truth. The mayor wasn't the king. He was just a pawn. And behind him was a secret brotherhood. A network so powerful it could make evidence vanish, silence witnesses, and bury justice itself. After the press conference, Marcus expected allies to rally to his side. Instead, he noticed something chilling. FBI colleagues avoided eye contact. His calls went unanswered. His boss, normally supportive, suddenly transferred him off the case. And then came the worst betrayal. The evidence files he had leaked to the press? They vanished. News outlets that had covered the mayor's scandal were suddenly silent. Headlines deleted. Stories retracted. It was as if the corruption never existed. Marcus confronted Judge Carter in disbelief. How? How does proof just disappear? The judge sighed heavily. Marcus, you don't understand. This isn't just one man. There's a network inside the system, a brotherhood. They cover for each other. Cops, politicians, even prosecutors. They've existed for decades. Marcus's jaw tightened. And Jamal. Her silence was answer enough. Late one night, Marcus received an anonymous tip. If you want your son, meet me at Pier 17. Alone. He went, armed but cautious. The pier was dark, waves slapping against rusted metal. And then, a figure emerged from the shadows. It was the rookie cop who had slipped him files months ago. She was trembling, her voice urgent. They call themselves the Brotherhood of Silence. They protect each other no matter what. The mayor? His nothing. They let him fall to protect the rest. But Daniels, the officer who first cuffed your son, he wasn't acting alone. He was recruiting. Marcus's fists clenched. Recruiting for what? She handed him a flash drive. Recruiting for them. They target young cops, train them to abuse power, and rise through the system. And Jamal, your son, his leverage. They know who you are, and they won't stop until you're broken. Marcus's blood ran cold. This wasn't about one dirty cop, one corrupt mayor, or even a handful of bad actors. This was about an organization built on fear. Marcus stared at the flash drive in his hand, his heart pounding with rage and fear. He had always believed in justice, believed the system could be fixed. But now, he realized, justice wasn't broken. It was being strangled by the very people who swore to uphold it. The Brotherhood of Silence wasn't just protecting corruption. They were fueling it. And now, they had his son. As Marcus drove home, his phone buzzed. A video played automatically. Jamal, still tied to a chair. But this time, someone else stepped into frame. Not a cop, not a politician. It was a man Marcus recognized instantly. His own FBI supervisor. The man he had trusted with his career. Smiling coldly, he leaned toward the camera and whispered, "Marcus, you were never hunting us. We were hunting you." Marcus's knuckles turned white on the steering wheel. His world shattered. The conspiracy wasn't outside the FBI. It was inside. And Marcus knew, this wasn't a warning anymore. It was a kidnapping. Marcus's FBI instincts kicked in. He pulled surveillance footage from the school's security cameras. The grainy video showed a black SUV idling near the entrance. Two masked men stepping out. Jamal struggling as they shoved him inside. Every second that passed felt like a lifetime. Marcus stormed into the precinct, the same one that had humiliated Jamal. The room went silent. "My son has been taken," he growled. "And if you're involved, I swear, justice will find you." Some officers looked away in shame. Others smirked. Marcus could see it in their eyes. Some of them knew. But Marcus didn't wait for their help. He launched his own hunt. Cell tower pings, traffic cameras, contacts within the bureau. Hours later, he got a lead. An abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of the city. When Marcus arrived, the air was thick with silence. His gun drawn, flashlight cutting through the dark, he called out, "Jamal." A muffled cry answered. He followed the sound until headlights suddenly flared behind him. The same black SUV roared to life. Doors flung open. Men poured out, surrounding him. This wasn't just a rescue mission. It was an ambush. Marcus fought like a man possessed, taking down two of the masked men before being overpowered. His gun clattered to the ground, kicked away. Then he saw him, Jamal. Hands tied, mouth gagged, fear in his eyes. But something else was there too. Resolve. As one of the kidnappers turned to restrain Marcus, Jamal lunged. Despite his restraints, he threw his weight into the man, knocking him off balance. The distraction was just enough. Marcus broke free, regained his weapon, and fired a warning shot that sent the remaining men scrambling. The SUV screeched away, leaving two behind in cuffs. Marcus rushed to Jamal, tearing off the gag. "Are you okay, son?" Jamal's voice shook, but his words were firm. "I'm not weak, Dad. They thought they could scare us, but they're wrong." In that moment, Marcus realized the shift. Jamal wasn't just a victim anymore. He was a fighter, standing shoulder to shoulder with his father. By morning, news of the kidnapping attempt spread. The city was outraged. People demanded answers. Marcus brought the captured men into federal custody. Under questioning, one of them broke. "They'll never stop," he whispered. "You're not fighting cops. You're fighting the people who control them." And then, almost like fate, Marcus received a file slipped under his office door. No name, no note, just a manila folder. Inside were photographs, bank transfers, and signatures. Evidence that the corruption reached the very top, into the mayor's office itself. Marcus's heart sank. This wasn't just about dirty cops. This was about power, political power. And now, Marcus had proof. But proof comes with a price. Because as he held that file in his hands, his phone buzzed again. Another message. This time, a video. Jamal, taken from his room in the middle of the night. And a voice that chilled Marcus's blood. "You went too far, Agent Hayes. Now the real war begins." Imagine discovering that the very leaders sworn to protect your city are the ones tearing it apart. Imagine learning that the system you dedicated your life to wasn't just flawed, it was poisoned. For Marcus Hayes, that truth cut deeper than any betrayal. Because the man behind his son's kidnapping wasn't a stranger. It was his own FBI supervisor. The Brotherhood of Silence had always been whispers in the shadows, rumors Marcus dismissed as paranoia. But now, they had Jamal. They had infiltrated the very agency sworn to protect justice. And unless Marcus played his cards right, the Brotherhood wouldn't just silence him, they'd erase his son, too. The flash drive burned in Marcus's hand. Every file, every name, every dirty deal. It was enough to dismantle careers, maybe even governments. But information was useless if Jamal didn't make it out alive. So Marcus hatched a plan. Risky, dangerous, suicidal even. With Judge Carter's help and the courage of the rookie cop who had already risked everything, Marcus pitched his idea to a handful of FBI agents he trusted completely. Agents outside his supervisor's chain of command. A sting operation. They would use Marcus himself as bait. Pretend he was ready to hand over the flash drive in exchange for his son's life. Cameras hidden, backup waiting in the wings. It was the only chance to save Jamal and expose the Brotherhood. But there was one problem. The Brotherhood had eyes everywhere. The meeting was set for midnight, in an abandoned warehouse on the city's edge. Marcus walked in alone, the flash drive tucked in his jacket. His heart thundered, but his face was stone. And then, they emerged. His FBI supervisor, flanked by Officer Daniels and two masked men. Jamal was shoved forward, still bound, his lip blooded but his spirit unbroken. The supervisor smirked. "Marcus, you should have known better. Justice is a game, and we write the rules." Marcus kept his voice steady. "You think you're untouchable, but this flash drive? It's already out there. The second I go missing, the world sees everything." Daniels snarled. His bluffing. But the supervisor hesitated. He knew Marcus too well. And that's when Marcus gave the signal. Red and blue lights exploded outside the warehouse. FBI agents stormed in, guns raised, shouting commands. Chaos erupted. Daniels lunged, but Marcus tackled him to the ground. The rookie cop dragged Jamal to safety. Agents cuffed the masked men. And Marcus's supervisor? For the first time, his smug face cracked with fear. He was caught. The courtroom weeks later was unlike any Marcus had ever seen. Rows packed with reporters, community members, and fellow agents. Evidence from the flash drive was played on screen. Secret meetings, coded communications, cover-ups that spanned decades. The Brotherhood of Silence wasn't just a rumor. It was real. And now the world knew it. Marcus sat in the gallery beside Jamal, his son's hand in his. Judge Carter presided with the same calm dignity she had always carried. When the guilty verdicts rang out, against Daniels, against the supervisor, against politicians who thought they were kings, the room erupted. For once, justice had the final word. And yet, Marcus knew it was only the beginning. Because as powerful as the Brotherhood had seemed, the files revealed one chilling truth. This was only one chapter, One cell of many. The network stretched across cities, across states, and Marcus's war with them was far from over. That night, Marcus and Jamal finally sat at their kitchen table again. Together, safe, for now. Jamal looked at his father, eyes wide. "Dad, are they gone?" Marcus exhaled, his shoulders heavy. "We cut off one head, son. But this thing, it has many." His phone buzzed. An email. No sender, no subject, just a single attachment. He clicked it. A video played. Another teen, black, bound, bruised, crying for help. And in the background, different cops. Different city. Same Brotherhood tattoo inked on their arms. The message was clear. The Brotherhood wasn't finished. And Marcus Hayes' fight had only just begun.